London in the 1600s and 1700s was one of the largest cities in Europe, a dense metropolis whose streets pulsed with life, trade, and ambition. By the 1700s, its population had grown to nearly 575,000, one in every 10 people in England, and it was transforming into the financial heart of a rising empire. The city was shaped by the River Thames, which flowed not just through London, but through its commerce, politics, and daily life. Life on the Thames was a constant motion: barges and ferries, merchants and watermen, the lifeblood of a city growing faster than its infrastructure could handle. At the heart of this riverine network was London Bridge. Far more than a crossing, it was a bustling neighborhood suspended over water. Houses, shops, and even a chapel lined the bridge, balanced atop 19 massive stone arches. From below, the Thames rushed past, twisting around timber beams and stone piers. Walking across London Bridge was like entering a narrow tunnel. Buildings jutted outward, leaving barely enough space for a loaded cart. Shopkeepers lived above their stores, hauling water from the river on winches, while below, the heads of traders displayed on pikes reminded passers-by of law, order, and fear. By 1750, Westminster Bridge opened, finally giving the city's bridges some competition. London Bridge would gradually be rebuilt, but for centuries it was not just a crossing, it was a symbol of London's medieval ingenuity, a neighborhood, a marketplace, and a living artery of commerce. The streets of London were alive before sunrise. Sedan chairs squeezed past horse-drawn coaches. Vendors shouted their wares: pies, oysters, milk, while open sewers ran alongside the streets. Animal dung, human waste, and the smell of smoke filled the air. The stench was medieval, even as the city rebuilt itself in brick and stone after the Great Fire of 1666. Yet London thrived. Trade exploded. Money flowed. The city was the beating heart of an empire expanding across the globe. Coffeehouses became the nerve centers of the modern world. By 1700, there were over 2,000 across London, places to drink coffee, debate ideas, and conduct business. Lloyd's Coffeehouse gave rise to the insurance industry, while Jonathan's Coffeehouse would become the London Stock Exchange. Intellectual coffeehouses saw Newton, Defoe, and philosophers shaping the ideas of the Enlightenment, while ordinary citizens drank coffee instead of small beer for the first time, thinking clearly, debating fiercely, and planning their futures. King Charles II tried to shut down coffeehouses in 1675, fearing sedition, but public outcry forced him to back down. Wives protested as well, complaining their husbands spent all day discussing politics instead of working. Yet coffeehouses were here to stay, turbocharging commerce, politics, and ideas across London. Westminster stood as the center of power, a palace and political complex reflecting the tensions of the age. The Old Palace of Westminster, Westminster Hall, and Westminster Abbey symbolized authority, spirituality, and law. The River Thames brought politicians, courtiers, and clergy directly to the steps of power, emphasizing the river as the city's main artery. Whitehall, sprawling along the river, was the largest royal residence in England. Kings and courtiers arrived by boat, highlighting the Thames as the lifeblood of the city. Most of Whitehall would later be destroyed by fire, but its presence anchored London's political power in the 17th and 18th centuries. Richmond Palace offered respite from the crowded city. Originally rebuilt by Henry VIII, it became a favored retreat for Tudor and early Stuart monarchs. Elizabeth I spent her final days here, marking the end of the Tudor dynasty. These palaces reflected the spread of London's influence beyond its urban core, showing how wealth, power, and taste extended into the surrounding countryside. The River Thames was London's highway, its sewer, and its market. Watermen ferried passengers in small boats, a dangerous job with tidal floods, strong currents, and filth from open sewers, slaughterhouses, and tanneries. Yet the river was also beautiful, especially in winter when it froze and frost fairs sprang to life with temporary pubs, food stalls, and ice skating. Downstream, the Port of London was the busiest in the world. Ships from every corner of the globe arrived with cargo: spices from India, sugar from the Caribbean, tea from China, tobacco from Virginia. Wealth flowed in, and so did waste. It would be nearly a century before a modern sewage system appeared, leaving the river both treasure and trash. Who lived in London? Everyone. Migrants from England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and across Europe flocked to London for work, trade, and opportunity. Huguenots fled persecution, bringing skills and industries. London offered anonymity and freedom, a chance to reinvent oneself. Yet life was perilous. Infant mortality was staggering. The Great Plague of 1665 had killed a quarter of the city, leaving 100,000 dead. Disease, malnutrition, and filthy conditions were a constant threat. Yet the promise of wages, trade, and upward mobility drew millions into London's streets and alleys. By the 18th century, London had become the financial capital of the world. The Bank of England, founded in 1694, transformed money, credit, and trade. The British East India Company conquered India. The Royal African Company trafficked enslaved people across the Atlantic. Sugar, coffee, and tea poured wealth into the city, building magnificent Georgian townhouses in Mayfair, financed by the blood and labor of the enslaved. The 18th century was London's golden age, but a gold built on exploitation and conquest. Elegant architecture arose above open sewers, coffeehouses buzzed with Enlightenment debate, and public hangings drew cheering crowds. Wealth and brutality coexisted, shaping a city of contradictions. By 1750, Westminster Bridge finally ended London Bridge's monopoly. By 1800, London's population would reach 1 million, the largest city on Earth. The 19th century would bring railways, sewers, and gaslit streets, transforming the metropolis further. But in the 1600s and 1700s, London was raw, chaotic, and alive, a city of opportunity and peril, where trade, politics, philosophy, and ambition collided on every street and along every river bend. This was London, dangerous, thrilling, and the birthplace of the modern world. Which city should we visit next? Let us know in the comments.